Perfect. To everyone who's joining us on the call, we're so happy you're here. We're so happy that you are taking time out of your busy week, balancing your jobs, your families, yourselves. And we're so glad that you're joining us for the first of our culinary diplomacy series with Chef Einat Admony, who I've been a long time fan of. I showed her my like creepy collection.
Thank you.
So this is her newest cookbook. For those of you who have not yet bought it, it is amazing. The Shook cookbook is fantastic, and I can't say enough good things about it. She also has Balabusta, which is her first. Is that your first cookbook, Einat? So it's her first cookbook, which is also amazing. I will pull that out as well. So this is another fan favorite. I actually made the schnitzel from the cookbook last week. It is so good. It was the best. My husband is a very picky schnitzel eater and said it was the best schnitzel.
I just got chicken breast today for schnitzel.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Can I ask where Einat is speaking from and teaching us from?
Yes. So Einat has a home up in upstate New York. So that is where she is teaching and cooking from tonight.
Yeah, we usually live in Brooklyn, and we come here usually for weekend, but this is, so for the last 3 years that we have the house, we said, okay, one day maybe we can stay a month and do a garden, maybe one day. We never have time with the restaurant business. We barely have a day or two here, so now we do. Sometimes.
Amazing. So we're gonna wait another few minutes to get settled. So in the meantime,
Cheers,
friends, it's after 5. If you'd like to pour yourself a nice glass of something, I invite you to do so. That could be water. Also, if you're feeling in your heart. You might still be working, in which case, don't do that. But otherwise, we're so happy to have you, and we're gonna get started in just a few minutes. For those of you who are just joining us, we're so excited to have you for the first remote access culinary diplomacy program with Chef Einat Admony. She is amazing, and we're so excited that she is going to be cooking with us today. So we're going to be doing a little bit of cooking first, so we get it out of the way. And then we're going to be asking a couple questions, not only about Einat and her cooking and what's going on in the restaurant world right now, but also about the significance and the importance about why food is a source of comfort and of bringing people together.
Yeah.
Take a couple more minutes.
So I want to give we're going to start with the onion today. I'm going to wait until Dana going to give a green light, but I'm going to give a lot of different variation.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Okay. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Remote Access. I'm Dana Steiner. I'm the Director of Access Global for AJC. And it is I am having like the biggest fangirl moment right now. Even though Einat and I are like pals and we talk on the phone, so it's fine. I'm not freaking out. And we're so happy to have her here with us for our first culinary diplomacy program. For those of you who know, food is a great equalizer in many ways. It is a source of diplomacy. It is a source of comfort. It is a source of healing. And as we welcome this Shabbat, which is certainly a different kind of Shabbat than what we're used to, we still want to begin to welcome this experience of rest and relaxation and family and community. And we felt that the best way to do that was to learn with and from an incredible chef and restaurateur and entrepreneur and cookbook author. So the way it's going to work this evening is that, first of all of you are muted, just so that way it's not like total chaos, but we also want this to be social. So certainly at different points you can unmute yourselves, especially if you have a question for Einat. If you have a question for Einat at any point, just put it in the chat box and we'll make sure that it gets read out loud. But definitely feel free to take yourself off of mute once we've gone through some of the questions and when we've gone through some of the cooking processes. So we're going to do a little bit of cooking, and then we are going to open up the floor for some questions for Einat. We've prepared a couple questions in advance, so once we're done with those, the floor is open for you to ask away. The first recipe we're going to be starting with is going to be the stuffed onion. What's really amazing about this recipe, and Einat's going to talk a little bit about it, is that you don't have to do it with beef. You can do it with rice, you can do it with turkey, you can do it with chicken, you can do it with other vegetables. There's a lot of versatility in this recipe. So without further ado, because like I shouldn't be talking anymore, I want to turn it over to Einat. And Einat, I'm wondering if there's any way to bring the phone a little bit closer just so we can hear you a little bit better.
Yes, of course.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me good now?
Yeah, that's much better. That's much better.
All right, so let me talk a little bit before I show you my technique of stuffing onion. But so I grew up and born and raised in Israel with a Persian and Yemenite dad. My mom also herself grew up in Iraqi home, so we did a lot of stuffing. I have in my new book, I have a whole chapter just dedicated to stuffing a lot of different things. We really like to take a little bit beef and stretch it with a lot of different things, especially when our parents grew up really poor and they need to take every, you know, they have a half a pound of meat and then put rice inside and herbs and grated onion. And my mom will take, if she will stuff zucchini, the inside of the zucchini, she will put back in the mix. So things like that. And I will show you today with the onion what we can do as well. But then we start with maybe 2 treats, depends, you know, we are 4. So for me, it's super crazy because Friday night, I'm not religious, but I'm super traditional, like very traditional. I have challah every Friday. I'm putting candles and I have a lot of friends on Friday nights. It's always a big feast. Every Friday, I do a big dinner. So this is kind of great. It's kind of, I don't know, replacing what, you know, we're missing so much right now. So, and my Shabbat dinner is always with challah. There is or stuffed onion, or some meat, or some chicken, or something. But we always start as well with fish. There is, so because we write just 4 right now, so I had to think now a little bit differently. I can't do like 20 different dishes. And I'm super excited about this onion. So we start with taking just a little bit of the top of the root, and then a little bit from here. And then we get just in the middle, but not all the way. So we cut until the middle, just like that, you see? And now we're going to peel just the last layer. And we're going to put it in a microwave for around 2 minutes. Now, if you don't have microwave, you just boiling water with a little bit salt and boil it. And every time you just peel one layer until it's ready. So right now, I'm just going to put it on a micro. And I'm going to show you. So it start getting like that. Can you see that? So they're very soft. And now you can fill them up very easy. So I have actually 2 or 3 different kind of onion, and all of them is not the same size. And when you have this one, the small one that you can really stuff, I would just chop them back in the mix. They're great, they're tasty, and they give a great texture of some. So what I did, I want to show you what I did. I have a vegetarian girl, a very serious meat lover. So already I made just like 2 rice for my girl, only rice, no meat. And then I have only meat for me. And then I have a different mix. But you can, listen, this is a different time right now. When I try to help people with recipe, we much more forgiving. There is like if you don't have cilantro that I put in my mix, just put a little bit mint if you have. If you don't have any herbs, it's fine. I just hope you have a little bit spices because that will make the whole difference. So in mine right now, so I grated some onion from the top, from the inside. That's to give the great flavor. So I just chop it a little bit inside. There is some cilantro and there is some cinnamon. And in the original recipe, it's going with only cinnamon and I think paprika. Here I put a little bit cumin as well. So you can play with that. I think the basic for me, it's paprika, can be turmeric because it's healthy and delicious, and a little bit cumin. And I like the cinnamon, which is replaced for me baharat, which is a spice I use a lot, and give some a really nice Middle Eastern flair to that dish. So a little bit cinnamon would be great. Be sure you have enough salt. And the micro is ready. Okay, you can see that. You see, it's very hot, so it's hard for me, but now they open. So the cut is just until the middle. It's hot. Yeah, and now we let it, we don't want to burn our hand. And we let it sit a little bit, and then we can just break each layer, yeah? So I want to go back on the stuffing. So you can really play with it. You can put quinoa if you have quinoa. Just be sure you rinse it and you have something to bind, like grated tomato, grated onion, some herbs, spices. And now I want to show you how I'm going to stuff it. I hope that some of you have some help, so some people can get different ingredients here. So I'm going to take that. Dana, you still with me? Dana?
She's there.
She is. Okay.
I am here. My
Okay,
neighbors
I
are
wanna
being
be
loud,
sure.
so I wanted to mute myself.
I'm kind of scared. Like I'm always afraid to get out of reception, so I want to be sure.
No,
that...
you're perfect. You're
Okay.
you're exactly
Wow.
where you need to be. This looks amazing. My
Okay.
like sad turkey version is not going to be
And
quite as
super
good.
important now. Super important. This, how you call that in English? The Steph, come on. You should know better. So here, much better than me, that's for sure. So here you put that, come on, there is name. Dana, help me here, please.
The end.
The end. Oh no, there is a name for that. Okay.
So,
all right. So we put it on the bottom because we afraid that when it's cooked, it's going to be open. So it's super open. I put a little bit olive oil here. You see, just a little bit on the bottom, and then I'm going to layer them just like that. Okay. Now, yeah. Now we have a big one here. Okay. Here. Okay. And in the meantime, I want to give some tips because I think all my childhood, I was, I've been taught how to be a great wife one day. And I always find it as super oppressive. And I just realized, especially in time like that this is super helpful. I keep a lot of my stuff and try not to throw anything. I want to show, so this is all my lemon. We use a lot of lemon. I do lemonade for the kids. We do a lot of salads. We do tons of stuff. So instead of to throw these because they're great, I'm gonna preserve that. So basically I'm gonna put maybe 2 cups of salt, half a cup of sugar, a little bit coriander seeds. If you have 1 chili, a bay leaf would be great. We can see here. I even put 1 lime here. Be good. And small other stuff. I know, don't make fun of me, but I actually take all my roots and let all my scallions grow back. You see, I just take what I cut and put it in water, and they're all growing back. So try not to waste anything, especially right now. We're going to continue.
What are you doing with the lemons that you're marinating?
Preserving. preserve it. So basically I keep enough to fill up one jar. I'm going to cut the edge a little bit. And this one, I don't want that. Yes. And this one.
And what do you do with the preserved lemons?
Again?
What do you do with the preserved lemons?
Oh, wow, everything. So when I have the preserved lemon is ready, I sometimes make a paste and then I just like put it on sandwiches, make it with a lot of things. So I like to have the paste as well, which I ground all the preserved lemon with a little bit lemon juice and honey. But just like that, I do my Moroccan chicken with olives. There is many different things. You can put it just like as a sandwiches, as like instead of pickles. You can cook with it. You can put it with. I do a lot with fish. So I do like spicy fish with preserved lemon. I use it for a lot of different dishes, but it's super nice. In Israel, a lot of time you just go and eat them just like that. Sure. Yeah, and it's very interesting because the last, I think 5-6 years, there is a lot of recipe coming out with preserved lemon, and you're always like too lazy to make them or thinking, oh, I would never use them. It's not so accessible outside, so I think it's nice now you have the, I don't know, ability to make them. I love preserved lemon and I personally use them a lot. Okay, here. Maybe it's called the steam. Yeah. What do you think, Dana?
I think it looks amazing.
All right. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit about the sauce. So my original recipe of pomegranate and dry mint, which I think dry mint is one of the most underrated spice. We Syrian people use it for soups, they're delicious. There is, I use it for a lot of time for like different sauces and vinaigrette. And so the original, it's with dry mint. I assume nobody, I don't have dry mint here. So you can just, and I have a little bit pomegranate and pomegranate molasses. So I'm going to put some pomegranate, but if you don't have pomegranate, just take a little bit lemon juice, even fresh mint, a little bit, salt. If you have chicken stock, it's fine. If not, just like water. And make kind of like, just like a liquid to cover the onion. The most important, if you put rice inside, you kind of calculate how much rice you want to be sure you're going to have enough liquid so the rice can extend. Let me take the new one. That's nice.
Einat, we have a question from Adrian about scallions. So Adrian, if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask Einat about how to regrow your scallions.
So yeah, sorry, my baby might make some noise, but yeah, we've been trying to regrow scallions because we buy them a lot, and I feel like I've heard that they can regrow, but we're using a small mug and they seem to just keep wilting. I saw you're using like a small Tupperware. Do you recommend like a smaller Tupperware? Sorry, my baby's crying.
No, that's okay. Don't be sorry. Basically what's happened when you put them, if you put too much water, they're going to get moldy, right?
Yeah, they start to smell.
Yeah, that's why it's happened to me as well. So a little bit water, not a lot, because then they're just thinking in water. A little bit water at a time. And I think what I'm going to try to do is just put them back in the ground sometimes, you know?
Okay.
I want to see that. But for now, I put them in a litter. It's happened to me as well. The whole house was smelly. It was horrible. So I just put them now in just the roots in water and try to make them stand. Cool. You understand me?
Yes.
So they're not like tilting and then just getting like full of water and smells.
Got it.
Thank
you.
Amazing. See, this is the kinds of special tips that we get. So I would never know the answer to that question. So that's amazing.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for asking, Adrian.
So you see, for example, here, I made a lot of filling. I wouldn't need all that. I'm going to put it in a Ziploc, very flat. I'm going to write what is that. I'm going to put my date. And next time I want to make some stuffed pepper or anything else, I can just, you know, use that. It's hard sometimes with filling. Usually I'm pretty good. It's hard sometimes with the filling to kind of measure exactly to the things. But this is because I didn't follow my recipe, basically. So here, you see that? This is, okay, we have one more here.
Wow.
And there is two ways. One way is the best way is to burn this now so it's not open up later in the oven. Yeah. So that's, you put olive oil, you put it on very high heat on the stove. Let it burn a little bit on the bottom so they're holding up. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to put it in the oven just like that. They're going to get very caramelized no matter what. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to take the small one, just like this. See? Just like that. And try to fill up the gaps. And I have one more. And I'm going to show you the liquid. Okay. I think that's good. Now, washing hand for 20 seconds. Okay. So this we're going to freeze for later. This here. So right now we can just put them on the oven like that. Even you have, this is a Dutch oven style, which I really like because it's keep it very nice. If you don't have that, no problem. Use any pan size, like, I don't know, like I would say 10-inch or 8-inch, depends how many are you. And you can start on a stove and move it to the oven. So right now, I think I'm going to skip the stove. So right now I have chicken stock here. I'm going to put some molasses a little. That's enough. And that's around like a tablespoon. And I have here I'm going to put the oven on. Take some stuff in here.
What's in there?
So I have chicken stock here, maybe a cup, and a little bit, I need more chicken stock, and a little bit pomegranate. So basically the recipe saying half a cup of chicken stock, half a cup of pomegranate juice, and 2 tablespoons of molasses. But I assume that 99% of the people are not going to have pomegranate molasses. So just a little bit like a herb sauce with lemon juice, can have a tiny sugar to balance the acid. Chicken stock or even water, around 2 cups on top of it will be just great. And it's, again, it depends if you put rice or not. If you just use the recipe with beef, you don't need much water. Also, we need to remember that all this onion going to release some water as well, as they're going to get reduced and caramelized. And now we're going to have some salt. I'm going to mix again. And I'm going to take some mint here because I do love mint. Just cutting them like this.
Einat, is this a recipe that you could also do with something like shallots, or shallots wouldn't be as good?
Shallots are too small, and usually they're divided by 2 parts. So it's going to be delicious. I love shallot, but it's going to be a really like very fine motoric skills you need for. Maybe if you have a 3 years old, that's very good. It would be great. But I think it's super hard because they're super small. And this is pretty small. This is a big onion, but most of them are kind of like. So really, you can not worry too much about that. Just like after half an hour, we check it out. I'm going to cover this with this. I need to take here. Please, come on. All right, and we're going to put that in the oven. You can put it between 350 or 375. I put mine on 350 so it's longer and safer. If you want to rush a little bit, I will put it 375, no problem. It would be great. Now, of course, if you put just the meat, there is much less worries because the rice, you want to be sure it's cooked. I do a lot of stuffing, so if I have a big ratio of rice, I want to be sure that it's cooked all the way. So, how are we doing so far?
We're great. I'm wondering, before we start asking you some questions, I wonder if there's some questions from any of our participants about any of the cooking or any of the process so far. Feel free to take yourself off of mute if you have a question for Einat. Otherwise, I might be asking her a couple questions from our prepared set. But please feel free to ask a question if you have one, and otherwise I'll ask a few questions.
So I have, the lemon. We haven't used the lemon yet, have we? In the stuffing of the onion, we're using it for the salad, correct?
The lemon is, I just gave another idea of lemon to use if you don't have pomegranate for the.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but yes, I have lemon for the salad right now.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Harriet. Does anyone have any questions about any of the cooking so far for Einat?
I have a question.
Go for it, Moises.
The molasses you added to the chicken broth, was that part of the recipe you thought, or you just decided to add it now?
No, that's the original recipe. I just basically, that's basically the original recipe. Have molasses. My technician here is amazing. So basically in my original recipe, there is pomegranate, like the pom juice, pomegranate juice. And then there is chicken stock and a little bit molasses, because the molasses is like replacing for me honey. Yeah, so I don't add more sugar. It's just like kind of sweet and sour. But I assume that a lot of people not going to have pomegranate molasses, and I want to give other option as a different liquid to put on top of the onion.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Of course.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you don't like cilantro, I know you said before use mint.
I'm sorry. We have a problem here.
I also hate cilantro.
So I understand. I know I have few people I know that actually not just don't like cilantro, they can take cilantro, they wish they like cilantro. But so just any things, you can put parsley. Parsley is great. How about mint? There is so many different herbs that you can use that would be great inside. My mixture of meat, usually it's always these three things. It's cilantro, parsley, mint. And if I need to avoid cilantro, so you avoid cilantro, it's not going to change much. It's still going to be delicious.
Okay, great.
Amazing. So, Einat, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I might ask you a few questions and then we'll get into the salad, if that works for everybody. So first of all, Einat, you are a renowned chef. You own several restaurants in New York. Oh, don't do that. Yes, you are. She owns several restaurants in New York, is a cookbook author, but unless you're a super fan like me, you might not know a little bit about your history and how you started cooking and how you really started like an Israeli cuisine revolution in New York. So can you tell our leadership here, how did you get started and how did you get cooking here in the States and bring your influence from home here?
So basically I came here in 99. The idea is I worked in a very nice restaurant in Israel, and I came here just to do a stage for 3 months, work under very famous fancy chefs. I was all fine dining before, just so you know, for years. And then I stayed here for much longer than the 3 months I planned, much longer. I think that the funny things that I cook since I'm probably 6 years old, my parents became very religious when I was around 10, 12 years old. And so I used to prepare the Shabbat dinner every Friday. Actually, we started on Thursday, which is insane. And the all kind of like chores that I would get as a young kid, it was pretty annoying and I hate it. But my sister ate it and more because she needed to clean. So at least I was cooking. And then I learned a lot and I was a big eater since I was very young. I like all kind of food. I experiment a lot. And when I get to New York, I think, it was a time that everybody was scared to say I'm Israeli, or it was a lot of it was a little bit different back then. Today, now you see a lot of restaurants, they're not ashamed to do hummus. But back then, to do any kind of Middle Eastern and Israeli was a little bit different. But I think I had a different leverage because I grew up with so many different cultures. I show a lot of people things that, now it's all very mainstream. But I remember back then, 20 years ago, I showed a friend how to make an Iraqi kube. He's a African-American chef. He'd never seen it before. He was eating this beautiful Iraqi dumpling and went crazy. So it was very, very nice to see how it's flow. For me, it's the one things I can say that keep me sane, especially now. I have to say I cook a lot, I experiment a lot. It's always, if I lost some friend or I lost my dad or I lost Stefan, that in every really hard time, it's the one things that keep me kind of zen. So they always ask me what you would do if you wasn't a chef. I said I probably was unemployed, just like now.
No, that's amazing. And I think your story is so important because there are, when you started here in 1999 and when you came here and you were first on the scene and introducing this kind of food, it was, in some ways it was humble food. The kind of Israeli food that we cook is very comfortable. It comes from our families. It comes from history. In a lot of ways, it's a little bit of a mishmash of different cultures and experiences. I know that for you, your parents come from different backgrounds, so that created a really interesting experience for you. When would you say there was a shift in the culinary world and people really started to embrace Middle Eastern and Israeli cuisine?
I think when people start more traveling, I think, as I know, because I traveled all my 20s and I never met any American in my 7 years of traveling. I think people travel so much more. There is social media, they're exposed, they're accessible, they understand, they're much more open. I cannot, I think the American palate changed so much because they're really curious and it's interesting and it's happened for a while. And the more, they're willing to eat this kind of food and experiment. And I think it's also very delicious food. It's healthy. It's kind of balanced. It's not, it's not, my husband is French, but I want to say it's not French food.
It's not all butter. So there's that,
Mediterranean diet. But you're from Mediterranean, Steph. All
For sure. So I also just want to sort of state the obvious, Einat, that, this is a really surreal time for everybody, and especially for those in the hospitality industry in which you are a part of. And we know that restaurant workers, chefs, owners, bussers, dishwashers, everyone has taken a real hit during this time. And naturally, we are an advocacy organization and we want to do what we can to support those in need. What is something that our leadership can be doing to support small business and to really advocate on behalf of restaurant owners and workers around the country and around the world?
Yeah, I think it's listen, we are on top of every details that regarding a business because we are Taim still doing a little bit delivery, but probably not for long. And Balabusta is closed down until further notice. It's very, very, very hard for employees that don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Basically, I think a lot of restaurants, including Balabusta, doing a lot of GoFundMe and things like that for employees. I think that's very helpful because right now there is any notice of any relief for them. So we are waiting and we are trying to see what's going to happen. The problem is, I think that we don't know if it's going to take in a week, 2 weeks, 3, you know, there is a lot of information, I think. So right now we need to kind of like cut any loss we can. And I think it's a very tricky, as we don't know what's going to bring tomorrow. I know a lot of people getting gift cards. There is a lot of charity going on there. I can imagine New York without restaurant, you know, that's the main things. Like I live in a city that is so vibrant that restaurant is the heart of everything. So
Right.
I really don't know. I can't predict right now.
For sure. I mean, it was very weird. I went for like a 10-minute walk to get vitamin D for 5 minutes because I needed a little bit of sun today. And it was so strange seeing all of the restaurants, which we normally go to, coffee shops just closed. It's such a weird phenomena. But, you know, we are, as part of our work with AJC, we are very invested in the culture and society of restaurants and of our cultural diplomats around the world. So obviously we're hoping when the time is safe that we can all return and enjoy at Balabusta and Taim and all.
Yeah, I think it's also important to support this small restaurant, because I believe that the big places that are huge chains, and I do believe they have a better cushion, you know, than the papas and moms that if they're not going to work for a month or more, they're not going to come back. So this is how I see it right now.
For sure, for sure.
The support need to go to more smaller businesses that don't have this like.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have one more question, and then I'd love to open up the floor or take a break, and we'll have some salad. We'll get cooking on the salad. So my last question that I have for you for now, don't worry, I'm not letting you off the hook yet, is can you tell us about a time when food or cooking or eating served as a bridge between you and someone else from a different background, a different culture, a different religion, a different experience?
Wow, this is all my life story in one answer. No, seriously. So I lived in Israel, then I went to the military, and I used to cook it was in the middle of a Gulf War. So I remember I had to make a whole crazy meal for all generals. And so that's something that brings very different people together. But I lived in Germany then for 5 years and in Holland. And I can say that I've been in Thailand a million times and 3 months at a time and cooking with Thai people. And I can say that all my like traveling and things, it's always something that bring us. Like it's something that for me, and I said that before, I'm not very religious, but I took from the Jewish religion. I grew up very religious. My family from Bnei Brak in Israel, if you know where it's at. So I took all the best stuff in Judaism, the best stuff, the all spiritual things that feel very connected, and I bring that with friends that not necessarily Jew. Like, you know, I have a friend that she said, I want to do Shabbat dinner on Sundays from now on. Like she will bring all her friends on Sunday, they call it Shabbat on Sundays. There is so much there for me that like food is a serious a bridge for a lot of different things. It's a serious bridge for me. It's always been. I do a lot of all the holidays. I hosted mostly every Shabbat, and not now. But my kids will be happy. We're cooking some good food today.
I'm sure.
So I can't, Dana, I can't think about one specific crazy, because it's really kind of a path of I'm going is like with a lot of different people that I met through my life, that like the food was something that's super exciting. And even if people think very different than me, which is crazy, it's like the food is kind of like make things much softer.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, it makes us human. Food makes us human in so many ways. 100%. So before we get into the salad, I'd love to open it up. If anyone has any questions for Einat, you can ask away. Not only about the food, also about, you know, some of the aspects of culinary diplomacy, whatever. You can unmute yourself if you have a question.
I have a question.
Go for it.
What is one ingredient that you cannot stand to cook with?
That I don't like?
That you don't like?
I have just one.
What is it?
Truffle oil. I would
Oh,
never, I get gag. I go to a restaurant and somebody passes with a potato truffle or whatever. I'm like starting like feeling it's the one. I can try anything that will give me things that I would never believe in my wildest dream I will try. I will. Truffle oil. And you know what? Because I'm a chef, once in a while I will, if it's not feels too strong, I will try, but it's never work. I always need to spit it out. Sorry. It's really bad for me. So it's like the cilantro for the nice girl with the baby before. Like that. Probably worse, much worse than that.
amazing. Great question, Sammy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much, Einat. This is so much fun. I'm the person you've been messaging back and forth with on Instagram all week, so thank you so much for engaging in our content. First question is, if times were not crazy and the oyster, do you or would you like to have plans to open up another restaurant? And if so, what would it be?
I have so many. I have million. Okay. So I had million ideas about different restaurant and concept, and this is endless. The problem is that restaurant business, especially in New York, is insanely crazy. Making actually profit from restaurant, it's almost a dream now. So, and I'm talking about pre-corona, of course. So I was promised after my last venture that I'm going to slow down because I'm like, I need to concentrate about putting my priorities a little bit different. So I have several Taim locations. We have 6 right now, and I have Balabusta that hopefully going to be open soon. And this is my, and we're going to open a coffee shop in Miami as well. So that's great. But right now I'm not thinking more restaurant.
Well, I can tell you that I live in DC and everyone was so excited when Taim opened in Georgetown. So thank you.
And now we open in DuPont, by the way. We're in construction in DuPont Circle. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Other questions for Einat? All right. So
Okay, we're doing salad.
if we don't have any questions, we'll start making a chopped salad. So let's make some salad.
So this is one of really my favorite, not just mine, everyone else I ever made it for, they love it. And they always ask for a recipe. So I'm going to give, this is celery cut. This is usually not in the salad. Usually there is kohlrabi. I had some ikama in the grocery, so I got ikama. But if you can get ikama, I would put celery or both. So right now I'm going to cut a little bit mint and cilantro, but what I have here is cucumber. My favorite is the Persian, or they call it here seedless. You have the big English one, which they're great too. Don't get the select one. They have a very thick skin that's not fun to eat. You have to peel them, and they're also full of seeds and water. So this is by far my favorite. So that's like a seedless or Persian cucumber. They're small, don't have much seeds, not much water. The skin is really delicate. They're a little bit sweeter, and they're absolutely delicious and super crunchy. So you can do red onion, but you can, if you grow in your scallion, you can do some scallion instead. I wouldn't put white onion. You can, if you like. It's a little bit too aggressive and strong. So I would do that. And okay, it's not like truffle oil, but I'm not crazy about celery. So I love celery in broth, in soups, in stocks, in anything like that. I would grate some celery in stuffing, but I don't want the celery to be very dominant. I pickle celery a lot. I don't want it to be, but I'm gonna put just a little here. And then this is my ikama. I just have just a small, and you see I cut it very roughly, kind of cubes.
Is this something where if you don't have red onion, you could use shallot, or is
yes,
shallot
absolutely,
again?
yes. Here, you and your shallot. Of course, yes, you can use shallot for this. Chopped, nice.
I love
Absolutely.
shallot.
I know.
Shallot forever. Okay.
I understand you. Shallot is great. All right, so now we have all these, and I'm gonna chop some herbs. So the 2 herbs I have here, it's mint, and I have some cilantro. So I'm gonna get just a little bit of the stem. You don't wanna take all the stems now, just a little. Let's see. Okay. And then, okay, I'm taking this and I'm going to fold everything and fold and fold and push a little bit. Not too much, you don't want to ruin the herbs, but a little. And fold again. And basically when you cut, so you want, wow, my hand is so dry now with the washing, but you want a 90 degrees here, yeah? So this is how I teach my kids to chop. Here. And if we have some stem, we can take it out. This is just perfect. We put it here. And of course, if we're going to serve it now, you can do the avocado, but if you serve it a little bit better, wait with avocado until the end, okay? So I'm going to do just one to show you. There is few ways. If you don't really care, and it seems like none of us really care right now, you can do just like that. Be careful with the knife. So you have kind of cubes. This is bad. We're going to take it out. And then we're just going to take a spoon and go all around, and we have cubes. And if it's really hard, let's see this. If it's really hard, you can just peel it slowly with your hand and then make cubes. And when you take, you need to be careful. A lot of people cut their hands like that. So you want to be sure that when you take the seed is, you're not cutting your hand. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Out this, okay. And now it's just the seasoning. So the seasoning, sorry. So basically it's like lemon. I like lime a lot, I have to tell you. It's great for that. You can do both or just one, whatever you have at home. So there is nothing here really. You don't need olive oil because you have the avocado for the pot. You just need lime, lemon, and salt. A little bit pepper would be great. And this is a really great healthy salad. It's, I have to say, it's one of my favorite lately. I kind of almost make it every Shabbat. Okay, that's enough. Just we need some salt. Yeah, delicious. I'm gonna put more avocado probably after, but this is the salad. It's all about green and crunch and texture, and there is some beautiful acid inside. And you can play with it with whatever you have.
That looks amazing. I'm missing some of those ingredients, so now mine's just cucumber and shallot, but there will be an avocado at some point. But it smells amazing. And so how long do the onions end up being in the oven for?
I'm going to check. It's did at least, I think, 40 minutes, but I'm going to take them just at the top to see how. Okay. Yeah, it's not ready. I'm going to hide the things. I assume right now it's only 20 minutes, which is not enough. You will need at least 40 minutes. What I always would love that people can send me on Instagram and Chef Einat some pictures of the result. Hopefully some of you actually make this onion and we'll enjoy it for tonight. And I would love to see some result.
Yes, that would be amazing. So just tag Chef Einat. I see Sammy is like ready and raring to go. I'm also making my salad. So while we're waiting, I have a few more questions, and then I want to open it back up to the group. So the question I have for you is, you know, it sort of relates to a question I had earlier, which is that breaking bread with others is a way to break down barriers and open our hearts and our stomachs. And it creates space for gathering. So right now, when we can't physically be together, how can we strive to engage in culinary diplomacy with those from other backgrounds, other experiences? Because normally we would try to have a meal with someone if we don't, you know, see their point of view or understand them or things like that. But now we might not be able to do that. So how can we use food and cooking as a way to connect with people, even if we can't be together?
Yeah, but this is a great example. For example, I think that, for example, I'm thinking now what I'm doing in Passover, if this is not out. So we talked today with my cousin in Costa Rica, and my brother is staying in Brooklyn, and a few other people, how we're going to have all of us like a meeting in a video so we can be together kind of, and we're all going to share the food and the things. It's a little bit tricky right now, but at the same time, I see that people using the social media to engage, to teach, to show, you know, where they're from, how they cook. So I see that a lot right now. I think that the internet is floating with the things, which I think it's great for people that actually want to learn, you know. I would love to do some, it's funny, I always try to do some different kind of cuisine, and every once in a while I said, okay, I need to experiment in this all new. So this is a great Vietnamese food. I want to be more perfected my dishes that I know. Korean food I do a lot, but like I would love that, you know. It's funny because my French husband still will love Middle Eastern food every night if it's up to him. So
that's awesome. It's actually funny. When I was in Paris, I went to a Cambodian restaurant, and it was unbelievable. It was French Cambodian food. So, you know, that's the beauty.
But there is a lot.
Yeah,
there is
that is the beauty. So my last question I have, and then I want to open it up to everybody else. What is your favorite thing to cook, and what is your favorite thing to eat? Because those are two very different things.
Actually, mine is the same.
Oh, yeah?
So my favorite things to make is couscous, and my favorite to eat is couscous. Yeah, it's not very, I understand that most of people, there is a lot of, listen, as a chef, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues will feel the same, like we cook so many different, it's very hard to, it's like, what is your favorite movie? Breakfast Club. So, you know, it's very, very hard to narrow that to a one dish that I would love. But I remember like 15 years ago when they asked me in articles in New York, what's going to be your last supper? I said, couscous and mafroum. And then they said, what is mafroum? And I said, okay, it's this like potato stuffed in beef, and then it's steamed, and then it's fried before. And, you know, and then I opened Kishkash years after, like just like trying to accommodate myself, basically eating mafroum and couscous. So this was always one of my favorite things, because I think it's very therapeutic. Like I can do it for a while, and I like to touch with my hand and feel the grain and like see them going down, and then steam them, and then there is something very that I really enjoy. I like to, yeah, I think couscous is one of my favorite things.
That's awesome. So I'd love to open it up to the group. If you have any questions for Einat, now is the time. And just unmute yourself.
I have a question. If you
Great. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey guys.
Hi, Jonathan.
Thank you for this, Tarauba. I have a question. What is, if you were going to use like an everyday pan, what's your favorite everyday pan to use to cook anything or the most things with?
It's a tricky one. I think if you choose just one, I would do a non-stick because then you can do everything on it. If you want to do a seared fish, I have a really nice stick here with me, but it's kind of heavy on the bottom. And here in where I live upstate, I don't have a stove, I don't have gas, so it takes forever to heat it up. So you want something that is thinner, the metal is thinner. So I don't know what kind of gas, if you have gas or stove or flat, it's big different. I can tell you that I got a cast iron, a very cheap one for $14, like a really heavy one of large. And that's great to make steak. So if you do steak at home and you don't have outdoor to grill, these kind of pans would be the best things in the world. And for a pat, I will always say a Dutch oven. Everybody need to have, don't need to be expensive, like Crusette one for $300 can be $50 or even less. We can get them much, much cheaper. And they're great because if you do a long, short braised chicken, anything, even chicken that take 1 hour, it's like breaking from the bones. It's my favorite dishes. I have a lot in Brooklyn. I have tons of Dutch oven. It's like you can make bread, the best bread in the world in Dutch oven. A lot of braising. So if it's a pat, I would say everybody need to get one Dutch oven, like a small, nice size. And for a 10, I would say non-stick if you choose one. But if you can get another one, get cast iron, it's great. You need to learn how to use the cast iron because you need to oil it it's like a wok almost. You need to oil it a little bit and be sure it's not get dry and rusty. But it's, I don't know, that's yeah. It was good enough?
Question.
Awesome. We have a question from Annie, which is, what is your favorite New York City restaurant other than Balabusta, of course?
Just Balabusta. I'm joking. There is so many favorite restaurant. Of course, Uncle Boone. I love the food. I love Thai food and Asian food a lot. So Uncle Boone is great. There is White Tiger in Brooklyn and Mac Bar. That's a Korean one. I'm going. Lauren Place, I like Dan Kluger. It's great. A lot of vegetarian option for my vegetarian friend when we go to. There is, you know, New York is so easy. You have everything. So many different kind of restaurant. I like extreme food. I like Ethiopian food. I like a lot of Asian food. So it's tricky because every time we decide to go to a restaurant, Stefan would say, okay, Middle East. And I'm like, but why? I always gonna judge it too much. I always say, this baba ganoush is garbage. So it's very hard for me to do Middle Eastern. I go. I support my other friends, of course, but it's a little bit harder. I rather go Asian food now. So Uncle Boone, there is a lot. I get few.
Nice. I think we have another question from, we have a few questions. What is your favorite knife manufacturer you can recommend?
Knife?
Yeah.
Here. So if you can go to a store and you live in New York, I know a lot of you not from New York. If you can go to a store and support a store, go to Corinne. It's on, I even remember the address. It's 57 Warren Street. It's downtown. And that's a great store for Japanese knife. I will always recommend Japanese knife because the steel are very soft, so it's easy to sharp. So you need to learn how to sharpen it on a water stone, but it's not that hard and it's not that, it will be worth it. Now, if you're not in New York and you want to order on the internet, you can order or from Corinne or from Japan New York, which is another company that I buy a lot of my knife these days. They're great. They have sales. The knife stays sharp for a long, long time. They have a really nice folded steel, and they probably will go between $58 to whatever and less.
Awesome. So I think Jen has a question, and here you are. Perfect.
Here I am.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is this. Is there one dish that you really struggle with, like that you trying to make it, it never comes out the way you want to?
Oi, that's a hard one, Jen. That's not nice. So a few days ago, I made And actually, I'm not bad with bread pudding, but I made a bread pudding with a challah that I have from last Friday that was so hard, and I dry it so much that all the custard that I made didn't get inside. And I want to post it and put all that, but it came out so bad that I kind of like let my kids eat a lot. There's so much good stuff, best chocolate, cocoa, bananas. I really make it nice, but it's the bread wasn't soft. It was super hard to get like the most. So that's actually was embarrassing moment, but I got over. A struggle dish, yes, I had in the past dosa, the Indian flat things, but I think if I will try now, 20 years after, I will maybe be better.
Cool.
That's one thing I struggle.
We actually have 2 questions I'll answer, and then I'm going to call on Moises, who also has a question. So Nicole said, can you briefly go over how you made the stuffed onion with the rice? Does the rice go in uncooked, or what are other vegetarian options that you could put in the onion?
Okay, great. So my daughter for the last year became vegetarian, and I'm actually really extremely happy about it. It's a little bit tricky because now I need to make always other stuff, but I have a million ideas. So what I would do with the rice, so if you want to be safe, I would cook the rice almost all the way and then drain it, let it dry, and put it back. If you want to be very safe, I do raw rice. I grew up with it and feel more comfortable to know that if I need more liquid, I can put. So if you want to be really safe, you cook the rice a little bit. Now you want to be vegetarian and you want to be healthy, I would grate it. Some zucchini would be delicious inside. It don't have a very dominant flavor like, I don't know, but zucchini is a great option. Zucchini, grated onion, grated things. You want to make it even faster, put the rice that you cooked a little bit on the side in a big boiling water with salt, strain it so it's almost ready, and then you can put in your food processor, onion, tomato, all the vegetable together. Just make it mushy with the herbs as well, so you don't need to chop everything or to grate in a cheese grater. Just put everything there and mix it with the rice so it's kind of like hold in and can bind. And then you can add the spices and taste a little bit. Even if you need to take it out, taste to be sure you have enough salt that the flavor you kind of for your life.
Awesome. That's awesome. And then we have another question from Eddie, which is, what are the names of the 2 dishes we're cooking and where can we get the recipes from? So we've actually linked the recipes in our email, and when we send a follow-up note, we will send those to you. But the names of the recipes are the chopped salad with cucumber, avocado, and kohlrabi. Actually, this recipe technically calls for kohlrabi, but we're using jicama today. And the other one is beef stuffed onions with pomegranate, or something like that. I was close. So those are the 2 recipes, and we will get those for you if you weren't able to get them on the first try. And we have a question from Moises.
Hi, Moises.
Yes, my question is about tomatoes, because we both moved to the United States from other countries, and I'm sure you noticed this when you moved here. Tomatoes don't have a lot of taste in the US. How do you get good tomatoes, or what's the trick?
Wow, that's a tricky one. There is actually, listen, I live in New York. The problem is that tomato shouldn't be used in the winter. And it's very hard for me as an Israeli woman not to use tomatoes. So what I do in my restaurant, I transfer some of the recipe to canned tomatoes or like preserved, all kind of like different tomatoes, because I cannot do, I have to use some of the, I totally understand what you're saying. I think it's important to get the tomatoes at the end of summer. You will have much best flavor. And tomato and other things, I don't keep it in the fridge most of the time, especially if they not look so ripe or red or sweet enough. I will put them next to the sun and let them ripe before, if I ever put them in the fridge. In a restaurant, we never put them in the fridge. The other things that I'm trying to do now, because I have a little bit garden, is to grow mine and be sure that they're sweet enough and to get the right things. Because I totally get it. Tomatoes, when I go to Shuka Carmel in Tel Aviv and I grab some tomato, it's like insanely amazing and sweet and beautiful. And here sometimes it's tricky. So there is all kind of ways to alternate. Like, you know, sometimes if I do like a sauce with tomato, I will put a pinch of sugar. and check the acid and try to balance that tomato with the flavor I'm required.
So we have, Tom has a question.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, thank you so much. I guess it's a two-part question. This has been great. My question was, what is it like? So you mentioned before the competitiveness of restaurants, New York, and that whole bit. But what is it like in terms of interaction and relationship with other Israeli restaurateurs in either New York or other cities, and your relationships with them? And also, I guess on that note, how would you describe also, there's such a big push kind of in the cookbook world as well, where everyone loves to see like all these beautiful cookbooks and every, the kind of the digitalization, I guess, of all the recipes into kind of almost, our kind of daily landscape. And what was that process like of putting that together?
So the first question, there is a lot of different groups, especially now in this hard time, that coming together. A lot of restaurateurs. There is a huge, I have a WhatsApp with 250 restaurateurs and chefs that just non-stop feeding each other with new laws that come in and advices. I think that I always find the community, not necessarily just the Israeli or Jewish community, the global chef community is super strong. I always felt especially very loved and supported by others, and I always try to do the same. So I feel, especially now, you feel it, especially now you see a lot of this group and asking. I get a lot of calls. I'm calling a lot of people at the same time. So, and with the Israeli community, a little bit different, Israeli, we tough. So it's a little bit different. But I know that so many chefs, Israeli chefs, passed through Balabusta 10 years ago and 8 years ago and come through. A lot of them I see open restaurant, and it's beautiful to see, we all evolving, and all the Middle Eastern kind of trend and food is like on a rise. About the cookbook, it's tricky to have a cookbook. I really love the shuk. I like both of my cookbooks. I think that Balabusta is super personal and it's funny as shit. So it's like every time I would open it, 6 years after, and I would open, I would laugh. This is totally like my voice there, and it's funny, and shuk is more authority about, the problem in where I see myself now is that Israeli born and raised with real Mizrahi family that doing this food, and now you will see a lot of people that figure out Israeli food 2 years ago and get excited and come in with books. So it's getting a really unfair competition in a way sometimes, but at the same time I feel like there is a lot of space for a lot of people. And it's super excited for me to see how Israeli food and all Middle Eastern food became such a strong thing right now.
Awesome. Great question. We just got actually a note. So Sammy said that her friend's brother started a podcast called Salt and Spine, and you were actually just on it. So his name is Brian Stewart. So check out that podcast, Salt and Spine, to learn a little bit more about those who are chefs with cookbooks. Other questions for Einat?
So now I have a question for you guys.
Ooh, tables have turned.
Oh, wow. So they say that this is a really, really great time now to finish all the stuff you always want to finish. So I just finished a bottle of tequila, a bottle of wine. And anyway. Yes. Do you want to check the onion right now?
Yeah. Let's check on the onion. Let's see how they're doing. In the meantime, I'm going to keep chopping my shallots. Put them in my salad.
So the onion right now is boiling, kind of the old sauces, but the onion on top is not caramelized enough. So we will need to wait, and I will suggest just to maybe send pictures or anything so we need to see. And maybe I can send you, Dana, later on the picture how it should look. There is also
Totally.
a picture
Yeah, and we'll
of
send it out to everybody.
Yeah, and there is a picture of the book of how they get caramelized and brown and gold and beautiful, so they know what they need to look for, so they're not taking it out too early. You want to be sure that the onion is super soft and super gold and kind of don't have this like hard texture, and all the sauce, most of the sauce is kind of like evaporate, so it's kind of just like,
that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. So if we don't have any other questions for Einat, I really just want to thank you so much for taking the time to cook with us and to be with us.
This was fun.
It's such a crazy time, and I wish that we were able to do this in one of your restaurants instead of doing this over the computer. But the bright side is that we were able to have, you know, guests from all over the world who were able to join us. So that was really very exciting. But we're so grateful for the work that you're doing. We're so grateful for the incredible hospitality you provide for people and make people feel.
You embarrass me, Dana. You need to stop. It make me feel very uncomfortable.
I know. That's I'm married to an Israeli, so I'm like learned how to like really dig it in there. So I get it. But we're so happy to have you. Shabbat Shalom, and everyone,
Shabbat
please
Shalom.
tag Chef Einat and AJC Global so we can see your pictures. And if you didn't get the recipe, we are going to send it. But we're so happy, and we look forward to doing this again before Pesach in a few weeks with Chef Alon Shaya. Super excited. He sends his regards, Einat. So super excited.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I would suggest that our group plan to meet Einat at Balabusta.
Yes, when we're able to go back, and we're able to like be together again, let's converge on Balabusta, and we'll do an access dinner there for sure.
Yeah, text me. You can message me on Chef Einat on anything and send me picture. I would like to repost them.
We will.
So
we're taking a million screenshots, so we definitely will.
I really want to see what you come out with. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye. Let's see how this is. Okay. Done. I can smoke weed now. Okay.